Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live of the Los Lobos Company. I am Vania Halldorson. I am a holistic practitioner. I work with Theta Healing, Access Bars Consciousness, Shamanic Florals, and much more. Well, today we have a human connection expert. Isn't that fantastic? In this moment that we are living under the COVID, to have someone that can help us to have human connection. Her name is Giovanna Elias, and she will tell us all about her career. She developed the connection code, and also she has written a book about it. Okay, well, we are ready. Welcome, everyone, and you can come in, Giovanna. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. So I'll tell a little bit to people how I met Giovanna. Actually, it's through a common friend, Rosangela Phoenix. She told me about you, and I thought, wow, this will be very interesting to learn what type of programs she has and all that. So, how did you start in your field?
Yeah, it's a great question. I just want to say thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Oi a todos os brasileiros que estão aqui também. Prazer. Vou falar pouquinhozinho em português. So hello to all the Brazilians and everyone else out there speaking English as well. About myself, so I'm a human connection expert, and how did I get into this? Actually, initially, when I was much younger, I was painfully shy. I had a lot of anxiety, and I had experienced an eating disorder and also sexual assault as a teenager. And I had been in the middle of a very messy divorce with my parents. And so when I was 20, I decided to move to Italy, and I studied there, and I learned Italian, and I got connected with my mother's roots. And then a few years later, I had gone to live in northern Canada on a native reserve, and I worked with suicidal teenagers. And so I got in touch with my grandmother's roots. A few years later, I went to live in Lebanon in the Middle East, and I learned some Arabic, and I got in touch with my grandfather's roots. And then I had gone to live in Brazil. This is how I learned my Portuguese, and met all the amazing brasileiros. Foi uma vida incrível no Brasil. It was such a beautiful life in Brazil I had. And I backpacked South America as well. And so all of this to say that after all of these travels and the thousands of people I met and the many languages and cultures that I learned, I came to realize that all humans really want the same thing, and that is to be respected and acknowledged and appreciated. And we all really want to have these deep, meaningful connections in our lives, and these deep relationships, these strong relationships. And so I've now gone on to teach this in my work. And so that includes, learning how to communicate with confidence. It includes learning how to build connections with complete strangers, with anyone, anywhere, at any time. And I also teach people how to resolve conflict, how to overcome the conflicts that they have in their relationships. Because I really do believe that, the quality of our lives is based upon the quality of all of our relationships. And so if we have really strong relationships, then we are successful at work. We're successful, in our intimate relationships with our friends, our families, with complete strangers, with anything and anyone. We can really thrive and feel fulfilled in our lives. So this is what I've gone on to do.
Yeah, well, beautiful. Yeah, I have had experience traveling as well, so I kind of understand a little bit, because when you travel, when you get out of your comfort zone, because where you live is your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then you are new in a new place. Like I have been here in Canada for a long time, but I had studied in US before. Okay. And also I lived in Panama, Costa Rica some years ago. So so I learned Spanish like because of my traveling too. I used to work as a biologist, so that's what took me to Costa Rica and Panama. And so I know what you mean. Like every time you are, in a new country, you are a new person, nobody knows who you are.
Yes.
So you have to start from scratch, right?
Exactly. You become a new identity, and you also learn all these new identities and ways of connecting around you. Yeah.
Yes, and it's very important. We have Vanessa Nunes said, "Oi, Giovanna."
Oi.
So
prazer, Vanessa.
We have a Brazilian there. So I mean, so really, your work was through your life, right? Because you said you started with, like your parents' divorce. Problems, I don't know, you said bulimia, something like that in childhood?
Yeah, exactly. Childhood, I had anorexia and bulimia when I was as young as 13. And we going through the difficult things when we're younger, actually, I think really helps us to be more successful as we get older, because we learn how to work through these conflicts as adults that we had to deal with as kids. So
as kids, yes. And then I noticed you said you worked with some suicide teams in the reserves.
Yeah, in Northern Canada. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience. I did it right out of university, and it was 1 year of really understanding partially, the culture of Canada and the natives from here. And I mean, I know Brazil has a very similar history as well, right? Mm-hmm. The Americas in general.
Yes.
Aboriginals or natives, the first people of the land. And then, of course, our history of different colonizers coming in and dominating the land. And so having worked on this land, and I learned how to hunt with these people and fish and like really integrate into their lifestyle.
Yeah, like I mentioned to you, I lived in Flin Flon, that's northern Manitoba. And when I first came, and it's all reserves around there. So I met, some of the native people that live there. And for sure, there are some cases of, suicide and things like that, which happens in Brazil too. I follow this sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so later on, I worked in a school as well. So I was an educational assistant.
Oh,
so yeah, this was in Manitoba. I work in a school. So I also, that was my first contact really, like, working with as educational assistant with kids that have had issues like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
I mean, had exposure with the community.
Yes, I had exposure with what you're talking about, like, the Aboriginal people and all, some of the crises that the kids have and all that. So, yeah, it's... so I want to ask you: were you involved at all with shamanism?
Yes, actually, this is also, of course, part of the journey. But yes, I love it. I find it fascinating. I'm sure you got very much entrenched in it as well yourself.
Yeah, more and more, and I have my ego back there.
I can see that. I was actually thinking that it's very much coming from that culture.
So but I
ceremony. I don't know if you would do ceremony as well.
No, like, because just recently I started with the shamanism, so I have been doing just online, and I'm taking some courses too. But I mean, I have dealt with Aboriginals and things like that, but I never talked about shamanism. But now I was like, well, I should have learned when I was with them.
It's very interesting. It's so interesting. They do a lot of different ceremonies. I don't know if you've ever done like a sweat lodge or
No, I
No.
never did. I know that they were doing that, and I was curious about doing it, but I never did. And now with COVID, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Probably
don't know if they
they are not doing it
Good
anymore.
question. I'm
Yeah,
sure they will eventually.
yeah,
I'm sure they will eventually. It's very healing. It's extremely powerful. And when you do want the contact, I mean, I know places in Ontario. I know you're a bit further away, but there's some really beautiful places throughout Canada to be able to do these different ceremonies, and they're extremely healing. And I studied a lot with them while I was there on the land, because, and this goes back to a lot of what I teach. Actually, I think when we go into these new environments and these new spaces, as much as we share about ourselves, I think it's very important for us to adapt with the environment and learn from the people and ask questions and really get to know them on a deeper level.
yes,
And so, for me, it was really about listening. Going in there, it was really about sitting back and not being, the white woman going into this space, but really just saying, let me know what is a practice for you. What are your traditions? What heals the community? What do you all believe in? And then learning from them.
yes.
And it was very interesting, very beautiful. I really had quite a experience.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, in a way, I am shamanic because I always like the animals, and I am biologist. I work with animals, but I didn't connect the two things together. Never. Just recently, and I'm like, oh, I always thought like this way, So I was like, oh, okay, I am a shamanic person without knowing it.
Yeah, unconsciously. Do you have a spirit animal?
Yes. Now I did some journeys, and I'm thinking that I already know, but sometimes they say you have allies and other animals that may come to help you. So I have to do more journeys too.
It's an endless journey. Life is an endless journey.
But yeah, a lot of the practitioners are doing online too, because now you cannot have, groups or anything like that. So yeah, that I was going to, just one more person here. Amélia Perrone said, boa noite, meninas.
Boa noite, querida. Bem-vinda.
Bem-vinda. Welcome. And Rosana Gobi as well. Boa noite. Brazilians, lots of Brazilians.
Brasileiros. Oi,
Yeah, so you lived in Brazil. Where did you live in Brazil?
I was in Rio de Janeiro, and when I went there, actually, it was funny because I went to just visit a friend, and I was not supposed to stay there. It was just supposed to be a trip.
And then you stayed?
And then I met Brazilians, and I actually, after 3 days of being in Rio de Janeiro, I was offered work to teach as an English teacher within the businesses, like private teaching. So I said, okay, I'll stay and see. And then I stayed a year and a half. And the only reason I left Brazil was because I actually had an accident.
Oh my God.
Otherwise, I may have stayed longer.
What happened?
Oh my God. Life, I knew life wanted to bring me back home to Canada, but I was in Salvador. It was Carnival, and I was crossing the street, and I was hit by a truck.
Wow. Yeah, because the streets, it was crowded, right? A lot of people in the streets.
Yes, it was a quiet street.
Oh, it was quiet.
It was just, honestly, I believe like the universe just wanted me to go home. It said, this is enough. Chega, you don't
enough of Carnival.
Yeah, like no more. You need to go home. So that's what happened. I left Brazil. I came back to Canada.
Did you hurt yourself a lot or just light?
Yeah, so I broke my ankle. I did 3 surgeries, and it took me about maybe 5 or 6 months to fully recover.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow.
So Yeah, that's why I came home, because I couldn't walk. So I had to really like learn how to walk on my ankle again. And it was serious, but I think all of these experiences teach us a lot.
Yes.
And there was a lot of healing that took place. And actually it's interesting because I came home and that's when I started studying holistic medicine. So
Ah,
I formally went to school for holistic health after I came home. And I started my healing journey to heal my ankle, actually then led me to become this holistic health practitioner and to learn, a combination of healing modalities and practices, which now I incorporate into all the work I do with my clients today. So even though I specialize in the art of communication and building human connections, I always say that the relationship, the most important relationship, is the one we have with ourselves.
yes, for sure.
Right? And so the best way to do that is through all these different health modalities, some of which I'm sure you do as well.
Yes.
And energy work. I do a lot of energy work and cleansing of the energy field. And then, of course, I work in psychology and NLP. And then I have a background in nutrition and herbs. And
Good.
yeah, so it's sort of like in my everyday life, I take care of myself based on how what I learned in holistic health and what I learned in school. But now this is what I also integrate into teaching my clients. How is the best way to take care of themselves? That way they can then have these amazing relationships with everybody else.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
So that's the way. When we said that Brazilian people, then Rosana Gobi wrote "Good evening." So she said first "Boa noite," now she said "Good evening."
Amazing.
Okay.
Boa noite, good evening.
Welcome. Yes. So let me ask you. The connection code, is that a book that you wrote? Talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the connection code is actually my company name, it's my YouTube channel, it's my upcoming book, and it's also my 6-month program. So I've just put everything under this one title that I call the connection code. And what it really is what I've created. And it's 9 keys. It consists of 9 keys of different communication skills, emotional intelligence and leadership skills, and interpersonal relationship and social skills, all intertwined into these 9 keys that then help us to be able to build these amazing connections and relationships in our lives. And so this whole package of these 9 keys is what I teach in my 6-month program online. It's what I write about in my book. It's what my whole company is based around. My YouTube channel is based around this. And this is what I've gone forwards in teaching. And funny enough, this all came to me through channeling, through downloads when I've been meditating over the last year.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. And look, at this moment especially, it's very, we all need that.
Yeah. Definitely, 100%. And I see it more and more. And, I see that this year, everybody has been repeatedly using this word disconnected. I feel so disconnected. I feel so lonely. I feel so, oftentimes people will say bored as well, because they don't have that company in their lives, or they don't have this sort of deep, meaningful connections in their lives that they really want and they're hungry for. And I think some people are very much aware that that's what's missing. And some people don't even know that's what's missing. They just feel empty.
Yes.
And I see that a lot in people's language, and I'm listening and I'm hearing, disconnected, and I'm just like, okay, here is the connection code.
I can connect all of you. I saw in your website, you said, we are born to connect. We are born to connect. That's very important in our lives. And so you have other programs too, right? Because I thought I saw something in the website. Other programs like a 4-day one.
Yes. Yeah. So I created in the beginning of COVID, I created a short program called the 4-Day Pathway. And this is really about building a better relationship with ourselves. So in these 4 days, we first learn practices into how to become, calm and centered within ourselves, and how to overcome stressful moments, which I think a lot of people have gone through this year.
Yes.
And so I teach a lot of, breathing techniques and meditation type techniques to be able to calm the body and relax. And then we move into clarity on our second day, because I really do believe that we can't make strong choices in our lives and for our futures and in any of our relationships, be it at work or with family or partners, if we don't have clarity about the things that we want and what is important for us and what our boundaries are. So we teach all about clarity in the second day. And then we move forwards into confidence on the third day, because while it's amazing to be clear about what we want, we also need to feel confident in ourselves. Otherwise, we can't take those actions moving forwards in our lives.
Yes, for sure. So this is like an online program, right?
This is strictly online. It's all done. I've created the videos and everything. And so people can go through it at their own speed. It's approximately an hour a day. And I've broken it up into 3 sections. So you guys can do it at a smaller, shorter, or slower pace as well if you wish to. And there's also exercises that go with it, written exercises and little challenges I put in as well. So little things, tools to be able to apply into your everyday life. I'm all about tools, because I think, it's great to learn and have the theory, but we really need to learn the practice and how to be able to put these things into practice in our daily lives so we can actually, thrive.
Yes, that's correct. So you probably did this in English, right?
Funny enough, I did this in English and in Portuguese.
Oh, great.
Great.
No, great idea, because then you can, people from Brazil can, if they don't know English that well, they can do it, right?
They can do it in Portuguese. And I have a wonderful amiga, Rosângela, who translated it for me.
Oh, great. Obrigada. No, great idea. And now more than ever, like that will be so. We will have shortly, when Thiago puts your address, like in the Instagram, and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah.
But we'll continue, and he'll probably hear, then he'll do it.
Yes.
And then you do also coaching one-on-one, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I do the one-on-ones, and I love them. I love the personal work that I do with my one-on-one, my clients. And I'm also, expanding this. And this is why I've created this 6-month program. That way I can actually be able to help more people at once. Because while I love my one-on-ones, they're very personable.
Yeah.
There's only so many people you can help when you do a one-on-one.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Then you can help more people.
Exactly.
Good. And I saw also dynamic dancer design. What is that about?
Oh, yes. So I used to be a dancer when I was younger, and as a teen, I was a dancer. And so a lot of this is very much interrelated with all the work I still do, and it's all about building confidence. So that program was specifically directed towards young teenage girls, many of them who are in the area of dance or in athletics, and they feel a lot of pressure, in that space to have to perform a certain way, to have to look a certain way, to have to be a certain way. And I remember that very much for myself as a teenager, and this is how I had developed. I'm sure this was a large contribution to how I developed an eating disorder, because, you're around all these thin girls that, are, performing on stage and everything is perfect.
Yeah, and there's competition. So
yeah, literally there's competition. We were literally competing.
So that's I have heard that from like friends that have daughters that were in dancing or ballet or something like that, and it always I was when I was very little, but soon I was out of, and I didn't want anymore. And then my mom told my dad. My dad said, "That's okay if she doesn't want." So I escaped.
Yeah, you got out of it. There's so many beautiful things. I'm so grateful for the health benefits that came out of dance, of course. But naturally, there is the other side, and I think for young girls to be able to have a mentor to say to them, yes, dance is healthy. Yes, dance is good for you. And yes, you don't need to be perfect. And having a perfect body is not necessary. And there are so many other beautiful qualities to you being, a girl becoming a woman. Yeah. And I think that transition for a lot of teenage girls is difficult because, your body's changing, your hormones are changing, everything's shifting, and you're trying to make sense of it all. And then you don't have this leader or mentor or coach to really help support you along your path. So this is essentially what I do for these young teenage girls.
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah, so you have been through that, so
yes.
You know how the kids are feeling.
I certainly know, and I'm so glad I'm not a teenager anymore.
No, difficult times.
Very difficult, yeah. It's just many teenagers are not offered what I would call emotional intelligence skills to be able to work through their emotions. So they're feeling all these things, but they don't have the words to express it. And I think that makes it very hard. And this is very much what I even teach my adult clients. What are the words of what you're feeling, and where do you feel that in your body? Because when we can start to understand our emotional states and what they are and where we feel them and what provokes them, then we can actually work through the challenges that come up in our life in a much smoother, easier way, rather than feeling stuck inside of all of it,
Yes, that's for sure. And then you have the other one, learn, ignite, transform.
Yes. And like so many, all my little programs. So this is specifically for teens in general, and this program I actually wanted to introduce into the curriculum, the school program, all across Canada and then internationally, but then COVID happened.
Yeah. So
and so I said, okay, pause, because COVID's happening. And so, everything is shifting within the schools. But I think, once again, going back to my point, teenagers are not offered these very basic communication skills, social skills, emotional intelligence skills. Nobody teaches them in school, how do you build healthy relationships? And once again, how do you build a healthy relationship with yourself as well? And so these teens are going through, the motions of life, but they're lost and they're confused and they're overwhelmed and they're conflicted. And so I built this program specifically to integrate into the schools so that we can actually have a strong generation of kids moving forward, so they can now start to raise kids that are also strong and bright and emotionally aware moving forwards. And of course, it becomes a cyclical generation of, more self-aware people that we're bringing.
Yeah, I interviewed Robinson Sereno. I don't know if you know him. Yeah. He has something for schools too, because of COVID now is with bars in schools, which I thought, wow, great idea. Really, the kids need that.
They do. They definitely do. Me and Hobson actually did an interview together months ago.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
We did, and it was wonderful. And I really love what he stands for, because I do think the education system needs to be redesigned in a way that benefits humans to be able to walk out into their everyday life and feel empowered.
Yes, that definitely.
Yeah.
I worked in a school, and I know they had a counselor, which was, good. I thought was a good idea. I mean, when I was growing up in Brazil, my school didn't have that, so I don't know. Maybe now they have. I don't know.
Okay.
But I thought I was like, oh, great, that they have the counselor. So at least there was something there to help them.
Yes.
And,
Yes. I say yes because I think every person takes their job more or less seriously. So some of the counselors I think here are very powerful at what they do, and they really care about the kids. And I think some of them are just there to do their 9 to 5 job.
okay, yeah. No, this one in this school, I really liked him. He was fantastic. He was a
Amazing.
great person. I really, anytime I was in trouble, I would go to him
Nice.
to get some guidance.
Yeah. It's needed. It's needed. It's needed. I didn't even know that in school. I didn't know that guidance counselors were good for that. I had no idea.
Well, it's a little bit. I think the kids feel shy to
Yeah.
let other kids know. So every time, like they have to kind of hide a little bit. But I mean, if there's somebody there to help, just go for it. But yeah, among the kids, I think they feel like that. They don't want to show that they have to go to the counselor.
This is exactly it. You're right. They wouldn't. They'd probably be shy or embarrassed, and I think that's why they need to be able to talk to someone that's still close enough to their age that understands.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I see here that Rosangela Phoenix said, "Hey guys, hello, Rosangela, specifically. Thank you for introducing me to Giovanna. Very good. And what are your plans now? With COVID. The book you are working on that for sure, and then more online work.
Yes, so I'm hoping to launch my 6-month program that I go through all these 9 keys that I call the connection code. I'm my vision is to launch it come the beginning of June, and I want to take people on this journey for the rest of the year. So from June until December, I want to bring people, like I said, on this connection code journey for the 6 months and really transform their lives in that period of 6 months. And that's really what the rest of my 2021 is looking like, being able to offer this really grand transformation for people in their lives. And then hopefully come January of next year, I will do a little bit more traveling for myself because I love to travel and I miss it very much.
Me too. I love to travel, but not now. Now I'm quiet.
Yeah, things have shifted a bit, but at some point I do see myself back on a beach.
Yes, oh, definitely, yeah. And so you are in Toronto, right?
I am in Toronto, yes. So unfortunately, the beach is not as close as it was when I lived in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah. Yeah, here I'm 4 hours from, because I'm not exactly in Vancouver, so I'm 4 hours from Vancouver. Okay. So I guess I will go to the beach there. I haven't been yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet, because when I moved here was towards the end of summer.
Okay.
And they were closing the beaches, actually. I don't think you could even go because, there were some parties happening and the police went there.
Sounds nice. Sounds great.
Go home, everybody. So, but around here we have lakes. So lakes for sure. I will go, and I went already in the summer. But
it's beautiful. Where you live is just so full of nature. It's so beautiful. It's so funny because I didn't know how beautiful my country was until I met Brazilians. But when I lived in Brazil, they said, they were talking to me about all these different parts of Canada that they had been to. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. No, I lived in Manitoba most of the time, but we lived in different parts, and even Flin Flon, northern Manitoba, is very beautiful. I mean, it's colder because like the winter lasts longer there, but I mean, lakes, like clean lakes, the boreal forest is just, It's
Very
fantastic. It's beautiful.
nice.
So that's where I had my first contact with the winter. So, and I was like, whoa, it looks like it's taking a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's very hard to readjust. You know, even I was saying to a friend of mine this morning that's Mexicano, I said to him, I'm like, you know, when I spent 3 winters in a row in Brazil, so I missed the whole cold here in Canada for 3 years in a row. When I came back to Canada, I was like, oh my goodness, how have I ever lived this life?
Yeah. Then we moved to the south of part of Manitoba. It was a little bit better the winter there, but now that we moved here, I don't know if this year was an unusual winter, but it was great. Like we had maybe 1 week that went to -20 just for 1-2 days, but it was like -5 or not,
Nothing,
but nothing, because in Winnipeg, I lived in Winnipeg for a while. It's like -20 for quite a some time there. Yeah, I think maybe Winnipeg is the coldest place in Canada. Maybe not in Canada because we have the north, but because of
it's very cold.
It's very cold because the prairie it's open, so that when the cold wind comes and woo.
And how often do you go back to Brazil and visit family there?
I was going almost, if not every year, every other year. So the last time was 2019.
Okay.
And then, but I haven't, because now the COVID is very high there right now, so I have to wait.
Okay.
But so I go. When I was working at the school was good because I had the summers off. So that's when I was going to Brazil. But what starts to happen is I get to Brazil and it's cold. I'm from São Paulo. Cold there, like not.
It is cold. I agree.
But the house you feel kind of cold, and then I start almost getting sick because I was not enjoying the summer here. So then because I was having too much of cold all the time, so I said no.
Yeah, that's so true.
So and when you live up north too, you have I worked once in underground because it's a mining town where I lived, and then I worked in the marijuana growing operation there.
Interesting.
So I worked underground, and then when winter comes, then like you because by the time you come up from there, it's dark already. So there is a period that you don't see much of, just on the weekend. But the city is a mining town, so a lot of miners there, and they work like that, 4 days on, 4 days off. So the 4 days on, they don't see the sun.
Which over a long period of time for their health,
it's hard.
It's scary. Yeah,
it is scary. Yeah, that's was one of the things I'm like, oh my God, I need the sun. So we moved south. Even my husband in the end, he said, okay, well, we'll move south. I also want to go south.
Yeah, that makes sense. So were you doing the work that you currently do? Were you also doing that back in Brazil as well? Or was that something you discovered more in Canada?
I discovered here, like I started doing here. And I worked a little bit as a biologist. I work in this plant, the grow operation there, the grow up, different things in Winnipeg. But then because we moved too, so I had to kind of restart. And then I started having kind of some spiritual experiences, dreams, and things that start happening. And I started, kind of, going after it. What is this? No? So then, I started with the tarot.
Okay.
I took I was doing a body talk. I don't know if you have ever heard about body
I've heard a lot about body talk, and I'm not sure if it's what I understand to be body talk. So, feel free to tell me more.
Yeah, it's originally from Australia. Okay. I think a person from Australia that I forget his name. But it is like your body will tell things. Yes. So I do online too. My do you say therapist? So she's in Brazil, like the body talk person. So it's basically energy from your body, the same time. And whoever takes the course, they have ways to interpret different things. It's very interesting. But doing that with her, it started opening that, it seemed like I was becoming more spiritual, having dreams, and open this up. And then she said, well, why don't you do a tarot course? Which I never thought about, doing that. It was like never crossed my mind. And then I started, oh, okay, maybe. Then I start that. Then I met Rosangela around the same time.
Funny how everything is connected, right?
Yeah, and then we were thinking about even do bars course.
Okay.
Rosangela Robinson and me, I would help too. So that's how I started, but it was funny because this was happening to me and I met her, which she does this type of work. So it's like, not very too much of a coincidence.
Well, and so, it's just interesting you say that, because I guess we call these things coincidences.
Yes.
But then when you start to notice all these synchronicities are happening in your life, you realize that actually humans really are very much interconnected. And without sounding perhaps too cheesy, I really do think we are all one in many ways. We're very much unified. And when we tap into that and really listen and feel into it, we can see you're connected to the right person at the right time for different reasons to aid in your growth.
Exactly, to aid in your growth, exactly. And then Rosangela was joking with me. She was like, the universe wants you. And I took Theta healing, and then I started, I'm taking more of shamanic too. Amazing. Because I studied biology, so I was always looking at nature too as a scientist. So it's kind of a shift for the, the spiritual part.
What would you say is the difference? Like looking at nature from a biology perspective versus a spiritual one, what is the difference for you?
Is more like how I go to somewhere, like for example, to the forest, and then try to connect with the forest. Not just looking, okay, this tree is this, and that, because, so you keep analyzing. As a scientist, you analyze. Yes. In this, I feel it. So now I go to the forest and I kind of feel the energy, that is in there. So it's more, I think, inside of you.
It sounds like one is more cerebral and the other one is more embodied. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's nice to have that mix.
Yeah. So I'm like, but there are some scientists in this field too. Have you ever heard about Bruce Lipton?
Yes, I love his work.
Yes, he was a PhD scientist. Well known for his work and everything, and he started going to this type of holistic field.
I really appreciate doctors that have done a beautiful mix between, the science and the spirituality and bringing the two worlds together.
Yes.
I think it's allowed more people that maybe normally wouldn't have come into this sort of world to be able to wrap their head around it and understand it more and sort of dive deeper into it.
Yes, exactly. And it's like also signs. Before I never paid too much attention on signs, but then now I do. Mm-hmm. And really, oh yes.
What are some signs for you? I'm curious.
Oh, even for example, I know people talk about numbers, but one for me, like before we moved from Winnipeg to here, and then COVID started. Mm-hmm. So we end up staying in a camper for 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Everything closed.
Yeah.
Our stuff was in Winnipeg, so it was like, and we were in this beautiful, like a place that was like with the eagle. I saw the eagle every day, the bald eagle, but a lot of good connections with nature. Mm-hmm. But then one day, but of course we didn't know what's happening in the planet. Like it was scary. Then one day I was walking and I stepped, and there was a little cactus that kind of stuck to my shoes. Okay. So I said, I'm going to keep it. So I kept it. Later on, because even to find a place here was difficult.
Okay.
After when you were looking for a place to finally move and everything. So finally, when we found this place here, the house has some glass work. And it's cactus. a bunch of cactus.
No way.
So I swear, I said, well, but I thought that moment, the universe was telling me, calm down, something good will happen to you.
Yeah.
Don't be.
Don't
So
worry.
I still have the cactus. We have been with this cactus for a year. My husband and I, the other day, were like, happy birthday to you.
Oh, this is sweet. Oh, this is so sweet.
So when we got out of the house, we just come to see first. We got out of the house. As soon as we got out, I saw a rainbow.
Oh, okay.
And then immediately I told my husband, this one's going to work. I'm sure about it.
Yeah.
I saw the cactus and I saw that. I said, that's the place.
Yeah.
Little things like that in signs that at the moment, because we are not connected, we don't notice.
Mm-hmm.
But I now I pay more attention.
Yeah, and I get it. It's sort of like your unconscious mind becomes now more conscious. You're starting to notice things in your reality that may have not presented themselves to you before.
Yeah. So no, it's just better to live like that, paying attention.
This is very true. Actually, this is the first key that I teach people: consciousness and presence. Because in any conversation and any interaction that we are with people, it's so important to pay attention to the person in front of you, what they're saying, what their body language is saying, what their energy is saying. It tells you a lot. It tells you a lot about someone.
So you have to be connected. Let me see if anyone would like to ask a question to Giovanna. Any of the people that are our listeners? Anyone?
Like, if they want to ask in Portuguese, they're also more than welcome.
Yes, you can ask in Portuguese. She knows. She speaks well.
All is good. Vania, did you find it hard to go from, having that science brain to allowing yourself to just, surrender and trust like this more spiritual unknown?
Yeah. It's being, like I told you, being in Canada for 19 years. And then, little by little, I was kind of, let it go. This so hard, scientist thing. The first contact with the cold also was a good lesson too. Like, and then like sometimes you talk to people, just adjust to the seasons. Because I think inside me I want to be Brazilian in the hot weather and this and that. So adjust to the seasons. And that's one thing too, like simply being in Canada, that's one first step for people, especially coming from tropical countries. Adjust to the seasons, learn how to live here. The Canadians live here. You will be able to live here too.
It's true. Not that we like it, or some of us do, I should say.
Yeah. Well, like, there's people that, especially here in BC, a lot of people do sports in the winter, right? There's a lot of skiing and things like that. Even in Winnipeg, people that like ice skating in rivers and things like. You have to adapt, but it's hard when you are tropical and you come. It's like.
Fully understand.
Yeah, but little by little,
So was it? No, go on.
Yeah, no, little by little you adjust. But I try to ice skate. Still, I can do it, but not like Canadians or like people that know for a long time. Just like little by little.
It's funny because I think we assume all Canadians are good at winter sports, but this is also not true.
Not true. No, I know. No, it's because I work in school. And then you also always see the parents taking the kids for, learning. They're learning very little. And then I am like a big person that doesn't know, and the little kids. Not everybody, not all Canadians. But, the ones that like the winter sports, I think they don't mind the winter as much because they have fun in the winter too.
Yeah.
But
we adjust.
Adjust, exactly. It takes time, but so I think little by little, answering your question, for me was like little by little happening, okay. And even now, here and then, I have a little moment, but then I'm like, relax, breathe, go with the flow.
Yeah, and then you surrender into it. Listen, because I find, the two brains, right? Like there's the more science brain that wants the facts and it wants to understand what's physically happening. And this is much more like, material, physical world, third dimension. And then of course there is the, we'll call it spiritual for lack of better terms, but like this.
Yeah, the energy or the energy.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't always have answers. I mean, we can even talk quantum right now, and quantum doesn't necessarily explain things to us the same way as traditional science would.
Yes.
So, and a lot of things we can't really fully understand with our like conscious mind and our senses. Our senses are only they're limited.
Yes.
So I wonder, you having that science background.
Sometimes.
Sorry.
Sometimes it happens. Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel I'm not connected. So I do this something sometimes that was one holistic practitioner. He said, say several times, I connect. I connect. I did this with Japamala once. Like was an exercise he passed to me. So I for 21 days I had to do I connect. And he said you can do that anytime when you feel that, if even anxiety or something, I connect.
Oh, I like this.
Calms you down.
This is great. Yeah.
We have a question here. Can I read it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Amélia Perrone, she said in Portuguese. Vocês duas viveram uma vida bem interessante com um ponto de virada. Será que todos nós precisamos de um ponto de virada para crescer espiritualmente? It's an interesting question.
Yeah. Okay, well, go ahead, and then I will.
Yeah, like for me, it looks like it was like that. Nothing really tragic happened, like an accident that happened to you. But even I remember the other day in another interview, a person telling me she had accidents, and then 3, I think, car crashes or something. And then she changed the lifestyle that she was, and So I think it's possible to change just because you are paying attention and you want. I think so.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because I've literally had this conversation in the last 2 weeks with a few different friends, and we are discussing, does change come from suffering, or can change come from a higher vibrational state of love and peace? Mm-hmm. And the conclusion we came to is that initially we suffer. So there may be one occasion, there may be multiple occasions that we experience suffering in our life in order to grow and evolve. But if we truly, genuinely learned our lesson, then we take that suffering and implement healthy practices into our lives so that we can then evolve from a higher vibrational state of love. So, for example, I had an eating disorder as a teenager. That was a lot of suffering. I was hit by a truck in Brazil. That was a lot of suffering. Breakups over the years, my family having divorced, that's all different forms of suffering. But now I've taken that, and even just simply in my meditations that I do every day, I have all of these incredible insights and learning and growth and things that come to me that, I don't know if we're frozen. Oh, there we go. I'm back.
Okay. Yes.
Things that will come to me that I learned through my meditations, which I would say are from a higher vibration, a vibration of love and peace and enlightenment. So I don't need to suffer now to get those learnings and those lessons. But at some point in my life, I had to suffer.
Yeah. Oh, we have Rosangela. She replied in English. Good. I think it depends on the challenges that you have to face it.
Yes.
Not necessarily you need this turning point, but if it comes from suffering, yes. When you choose to learn from love, you don't. Yeah. So
yeah, and this is exactly it. This is a really good point, Josangela, that I think we can choose to learn from love. But this, this reminds me a lot of the difference between naturopathic medicine, for example, and allopathic medicine. And the very basic difference is, allopathic Western world medicine, we believe in treating the problem when it happens. And naturopathic believes in preventative measures. And so we believe in taking care of the body before it ever needs to get sick. And so, that would be exercise, healthy diet, meditation, all of these different things to implement into our lives so we don't have to get sick and then suffer. And so I think the same thing applies in this case, that if we apply all of these healthy practices every day into our lives, we don't need to reach this major suffering point that we then need to go, let's say, to the hospital or the psychiatrist or whoever it is to help us. We already have the tools, and we can evolve from a more evolved space.
Yes. Yeah. Not necessarily you need the suffering.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens as a wake-up call.
Also.
Like you were in Brazil, and they're like,
oh, I
you have to go back.
Yeah, I knew right away. I was like, okay, gotta go home to Canada. I understood. I accepted it. Yeah.
And Rosangela said also the way you see your challenges. Yes, yeah. That's for sure. Maybe I should translate the first question since we're speaking English. So I'll just say for listeners that speak English what the first person, Amelia, had asked. You both had lived an interesting life with a turning point, right? She asked, do we all need this turning point in order to grow spiritually? That was the question that we answered already in English, and then Rosangela also helped with her point of view. Mm-hmm. Yes, no, so that's fantastic. Okay, well, we are getting to the end of the live. It was great meeting you. I'm enjoying meeting you. It was great.
It was such a pleasure, and I look forward to connecting more as well with. I'm guessing we've got your Brazilian friends that are on the call right now.
Yes, so, definitely. Yes. So. Where is Thiago? Yeah. I want him to put your information.
Yes, of course.
Rosangela said, no, doesn't want to end. But boy. Yes, so it's, it was great meeting you. Rosangela, I know her online too. I never met her in person. Someday I will meet her in person.
So you'll come to Toronto and visit us both.
Yes, I need to go to. Yeah. Actually, I just every time I was in Toronto, I was just at the airport and leave. So I never really visited the city, and there are things to see there. Lots of things to see there. So
there's 2 people now.
Yes. Thank you.
Always a good reason to go to a place for the people.
Yes, for sure. So Amélia Perroni said, "Thanks, girls. I love it."
Obrigada, gente. Muito obrigada. Foi prazer.
Yes, and then to get in touch with Giovanna, you have your website, giovannaelias.com, right?
Exactly. So they can find me, Giovanna, Giovanna, right here, giovannaelias.com. And you can also find my work on Instagram at giovanna.fjm.elias. So
Elias, yeah, it's here now, the website. And Brazilian people, take advantage of her Portuguese program. That's great.
Não tem nenhum problema se vocês quiserem falar em português também, não tem problema não.
Pode falar em português, isso mesmo. Tá, eu vi que você vai ter uma live com a Rosangela também, não é? Tomorrow?
Sim, a gente vai fazer amanhã. We're going to do one tomorrow, yes.
I hope I can watch, but if not, I watch later, no problem.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody that was here. I really enjoy your comments. Okay, thank you. And please subscribe and share and enjoy, because I will be doing more lives. Thank you so much.